I'm Bennett Chandler. This is a solid-state Logic 4048 G+. It's the only SSL, as it's called, in a music production studio in New England. You'd have to go to Nashville, New York, LA, or other larger markets to find this console. And what makes this console unique, this is the #1 mixing board used by virtually all major recording engineers and producers to make records today. While there's a lot of competing formats such as Pro Tools, certainly we work with Pro Tools here, we have a Pro Tools system. Some people mix in the box, but if they have a choice to mix outside the box and mix in a large analog format, this is it. With a good monitoring environment such as the speakers, a lot of outboard gear like we have, but above all having an SSL. Virtually all major recording engineers, major records still made today, even in this day of Pro Tools, ultimately find their way onto a large format console such as this. Our choice when we built this studio is we looked at what was out there for other studios working in the top level in New England, and there were some good tracking rooms, but there weren't any real mixing rooms. And consequently, we realized that New England needed an SSL in it, and that's why we put this in here. What is unique about the way we operate Pro Tools in here is we do very little bit of work in the box, in that we have all this beautiful outboard gear, much of which is reproduced today in the form of plugins in Pro Tools. Well, as I've always said, why use a digital copy of the real thing when we've got the real thing? The Pultecs, the Uris, the Teletronics, you know, all the cool reverb, delays, all that stuff. We've got the real thing here. We record through those directly into Pro Tools, and then we come out of Pro Tools completely analog back into the SSL. And from the SSL, we mix here, use all our real analog outboard gear, and can either mix back into Pro Tools or mix to a 1/2-inch analog tape. That's a great sound. You just cannot get that sound out of a complete mix in the box. Well, you can do good work in the box. This is what takes it to the very highest level as far as audio production goes. Well, this is our main recording room. It's completely floated. It's about 350 square feet, and we've had 10-piece bands in here. The important thing is all the isolation spaces that are around it. The front hallway is an isolation booth designed as such. The rear hallway is the same thing. We have a vocal booth right there. When I designed this place, I wanted to be sure that on opening day, we hung up the first microphone in this room. The place sounded right. The same with that control room, that it sounded right. Consequently, we hired a great acoustical designer. The gentleman that we hired to design this room, his name is John Stork from Walter Stork Design Group. John's first studio design gig was for Jimi Hendrix. He designed Electric Ladyland in New York, and he was 21 years old. From there, he built a career in designing world-class recording studios. M49s, U87s, U47, this should be back in its box. Most of these microphones were built in the 1950s. This is a AKG C12, 1950s. So this is a relatively new microphone. This is a current model Neumann. We've got several of these. This is a 1950s. Large diaphragm tube microphones. We have a very large, probably one of the largest collections of them in any studio you're going to find around here. We find we can satisfy the requirements of pretty much any vocalist for what they're looking for in a sound. All these different microphones provide a different flavor. And we have probably one of the nicest grand pianos you're going to find in any recording studio in New England. This is a C7, 7.5-foot grand. This thing has got all new hammers in it. It was worked on by New England Classic Piano Restoration, who's actually one of the premier Steinway rebuilders in the world. It's got that forward pop jazz sound you want, yet with the hammers that we put in here, which were actually designed originally for a German Steinway, it's a little rounder sounding, and it translates well to classical and music also. We've been very pleased with it, and most people who use this piano are so too. Very few people come in here are disappointed by its sound, and that's as much as I will play.
Também é bom lembrar que falamos português. Hablamos espanhol? Sí.